Well, good evening and welcome to the Go TAFE Goulburn Valley Real Deal Football Show. Well, normally we'd get straight into the footy, but we're 4 weeks away from the Interleague challenge against the mighty Geelong Football League. But we're ready for it, and ready with me this evening is the coach of the Go TAFE Goulburn Valley football side, Travis Ryan. Trev, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, Foxy, yourself?
Not too bad, Trev. It never rains, it pours. I think you've probably been dealt harder blows than most coaches at Interleague level when you think you've got a super squad. And how many did we lose on the weekend just past?
Probably 3, I would say, at this stage, by the looks of it. But yeah, we'll obviously have to wait and see what the medical reports come back as. But that's the way it is, basically. So give someone else an opportunity. So
your initial squad, how many do you think will be in it?
At this stage, we'll probably have 35.
Yep.
We generally stick around the 35 or 36. So we've got a couple to have a look at on the weekend, and then we'll announce the squad on Sunday night, pretty much.
Okay, Sunday night. So for those of you that are keen on Interleague footy, I know we love it here. Sunday night's the night. It'll be downloaded onto the GBFL website.
I think so. Yep.
All right, mate. Now, training venues. Where are you going to train?
We'll try and Seymour again on the 13th, the Wednesday, and then again Deakin on the 20th for the final training session. Then play on the Saturday.
Leadership roles in the side. Have you made up your mind in that area?
Well, probably we had, obviously Tim Levy and Jason Morgan were their leaders last year. So as long as they're fit and up and going again, they'll be at the post again. So, but obviously we've got 4 weeks before we play. So, fingers crossed we don't lose too many. But the attrition rate's always reasonably high. Coming the last couple of weeks, and Geelong will be the same. They'll lose a few in the preceding weeks. So we'll wait and see what we've got towards the end.
With selection, you're using the same personnel, obviously, with blokes like Case, Nipper.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyone else? It's
we've got the same crew that we've had pretty much for the last 6 or 7 years. This year we've got the under-18 coach and assistant from last year in Terence Toohey and Jason Wells helping out with the senior side, given that the under-18s aren't playing. So we had Darren Humphrey and Scotty Watson obviously had some commitments this year, so they couldn't commit again. So Jason and Terence have come into their spots. So
I'm sort of a bit thrilled to announce it too tonight that for people that have followed us right through in the last couple of years in particular, this year again we'll be live streaming the game between Geelong and the Goulburn Valley Football League, and the Maneira League and the KDL will play that will also be live streamed. That'll be the big game before our main game, but we'll be going all over Australia, all over Victoria, all over Australia, and for that matter, travel all over the world.
Foxy, yes.
Yeah, we don't muck around here on the real deal. Obviously, from a personal level, when we went down to play Geelong last time, they had an all-star lineup, and it'd be fair to say we got a bit of a touch-up.
We got off to a very poor start last time we played down there. Come back pretty well, but they were just far too good for us on the day. So obviously they're going to have a very, very strong side again. Got some good players coming into the league down there this year. So again, they'll be tough opposition, and we're expecting a very good side to come to shout.
There's no doubt they'll be doing their homework on us, Trev, and I know that we're fairly well placed. We've had a bit of a look at one or two of their new inclusions and a couple of exclusions.
Yep.
You wouldn't be able to anticipate at this stage how many new ones you think will be coming into our side this year from last year?
We probably got, probably 8 or 10, I suppose, on the list, I would say, at this stage. We're lucky enough that we probably lost 4 from last year's side that actually played, so which is good. And there's a few others that missed out last year that are still around, and some that weren't fit and that last year. So the squad's looking pretty strong at this stage.
Yeah, and the difference between this year and years gone by is there'll be no under-18 game, and there'll be senior football from our level only and senior football from the Kyabram District League only, and there's no netball either. So
it's obviously, I think it's really disappointing from a development side of things for our league not having the under-18s. It was sort of, the boys were very disappointed, as I was, as we see it as setting up for future local kids wanting to play in the league footy down the track. So we've had a good program going for the last 7 or 8 years that we've been involved, and obviously promoting it with the kids, they get a taste for it straight away, and then when they get to senior footy they want to play in representative footy again. So we see this year as breaking up a program really, and I'm really disappointed that it's not happening, basically.
probably should have asked you before off air. You played a lot of interleague football yourself, and you've coached now. How many years coaching?
4th coaching and 7 years involved.
As a player and as a coach?
No, assistant 3 years before I coached.
Okay, that was with Whitey, of course. And then how many interleague games did you play in?
4, I think, I played.
Yeah, so you're up around this. Yeah, it's not as if it's what I'm trying to say there is Travis isn't a first-time entertainer. He's been at this level for almost 11 years, 11 seasons, and this will be undoubtedly this will be what I would suggest your biggest challenge, because they're the only side that's beaten you in your own as coach.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So we know we've got a big challenge ahead of us. So we're going to do the best we can, pick the best side we can, and hopefully everyone shows up on the day to play and we can come away with a victory.
Yeah, well, I know that I guess that the Geelong footy boys would be keen to find out when we're going to name the show, and sorry, not name the show, but certainly name the sides. But we probably we'd like to give you a friendly message. We're not telling you who's coming out tonight. No, look, the Geelong fellas, I'm sure they're all fantastic blokes, and they'll be watching this, and we wish you well and look forward to catching up with them on the 23rd of May, one of the all-time great days in Australian history.
Why is that?
Because it's my birthday and I want a big present off you, Trev. And I don't care whether we win by a point or a goal, but I wish you and everybody that's involved in the mighty Go Tafe Golden Valley side all the best, mate. And thanks. Without a word of a lie, you ring Travis and say, can you help us out and be here? And he's here and avails himself all the time. And you want to wish him well this season. Should be a big crowd and it should be a great result for us. And I take it back. No, I don't. Okay, thanks, Trev.
Good on you. Thanks,
Good on you. We'll have a word and have a look what's coming up. We'll find out about the umpiring fraternity, and when we come back, it'll be JR and the return of the man who's no doubt got a million presents for us from overseas. Guy Morph will be back in the chair.
Love Aussie rules footy? Are you retired as a former player? Do you go to secondary school? Then here's a career for you. The Goulburn Valley Football Umpires Association invites you to join their team. Umpiring positions for young men and women or adults with a good level of fitness to become boundary, goal or central umpires. Get paid for doing something you love. Call the GV Umpires Association today.
So there you go. If you are interested in taking up any form of umpiring whatsoever in the mighty Go Tafe Golden Valley Footy League, they're the people to get in touch with. Well, it's the real deal time, and welcome him back all the way from China, the one and the only Guy Morford. How are you, Guy?
Foxy, well, thank you. JR, how are you?
I'm very good, guys. Good to see you back in one piece.
Lovely to be back on the set.
Johnny, be fair to say, one of the smoothest shows of all time last week. Got a fair bit to answer for, hasn't he?
Well, it's probably the biggest hits we've had, so he's got a bit of work to do.
Millions of hits. Did he bring you back? I've sort of travelled over tonight.
Yeah.
Any idea did he bring you back a present?
New set of these.
So there you go, new set of choppers. I'm not taking mine out. I can see it right now. I thought he might have brought me a trainer bra back, but he wouldn't do that either. So there you go. But anyway, good to have you back, mate.
Lovely to be back, boys.
Mario D. Santarana, very ordinary last week, threw Johnny into disarray.
Oh, he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we get into talking about football, I would just like to send a cheerio out to a fellow that came through this competition. I know every club in the comp would be saddened by what happened to young Nathan Drummond last week on debut.
Yep.
Now, Nathan was from the Marupna Football Club. Out he runs onto the ground straight away, had a presence, and now the worst injury a young man can get sustained in football was that he has to have his knee reconstructed. So to everybody, it's a full reco, John.
Yeah.
And to everybody involved at the Marupna Football Club, but more importantly to the Drummond family from the YouTube Footy Show. We don't know whether you'll watch it or not, but we know that some of the friends of Nathan would be watching it, so please accept our best get well wishes. We hope you get well as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely. It's horrific to have. Do come to your first senior game, especially AFL game, and then do your knee, but he'd be a kid of good quality, and he'll step up and
He'll
make
come
him stronger.
Yep.
Good on you, Nathan. We wish you all the best. Johnny, in football last week, I'll go through the scores. Have a look at this. It was Yarrow by 18 points over Seymour. Probably that scoreline, John, flatters Seymour a little bit because I know they got 3 late goals towards when it was in red time. But it was Euroa down there at Kings Park, a great win. Benalla, well, last year's replay of the grand final, and I was there for this game. Cyclone Tracy hit the Benalla football ground at half-time, made no difference to Benalla. They thumped the Swans
back in town, Foxy.
by 52 points. There's no doubt about that, but still, I wouldn't be writing off the Swans yet. The boys have got a bit of character. They had a bad one last week. I wonder if they had a hangover from the week before. Who knows?
They played a quality side.
Marupna, 44 points here. They're quite achievers, aren't they? The Pussycats, 44-point winners over Shepparton, and that's a comprehensive beating. In the last couple of stages of play, it was Rochi who got over the line by Kai Abram by 5 points. It was an awkward scoring game, John. The weather conditions weren't extreme by any standards, and you're always hard to beat Kai under lights, and they got the money there by 5 points.
Good effort there, boys. Rochi.
Yeah, well, they're the only side. They've beaten them there a couple of times down the last few years. So Rochi seemed to do all right on the lights over there.
Sees our ladder like this. Rochester on top on 12 with Benalla, Euroa and Marupna all on 12 points. And we've got Kai on 8, the Swans on 4. The Swans are on 8, United on 4, Seymour on 4, Echuca on 4, Tat, Shepparton and Mansfield have yet to gain any premiership points. But you've got a feeling after the weekend, someone out of that lot is going to hit the scoreboard. We see the boy that we did the feature story on last week. We might have put the Moz on you, Big H. Quite one for you last week. I thought, here he goes tonight. Madden kicked the goal within the first 5 minutes of play, and then they just couldn't get the ball to him like they have throughout the course of the year.
We did highlight that last week, though, Guy, where if Justin Madden doesn't kick a big score for the Swans, who's going to step up to do it? So there's something they're going to have to work on, the Swannies.
Something to look at, but still, 18 goals after, 4
he's been terrific.
It's not a bad effort.
Oh, he's a great player.
Mellington's on 14, Elliot Bowen is on 12, Kirby's on 12, and big Tim Bongetti from the Seymour Football Club is also on 12. Okay, one thing we did do last week, John, and I'll let you talk about it. We went out there and we spoke about riding for the disabled, John, and we had a terrific result from 2 levels within the competition, and moving pitches, we call him affectionately, and I'm talking about Bernie Antonovitz. Bernie made a donation to the riding for the disabled cause, and it was a fantastic gesture on his part. Bernie, you're a legend, son, and the people up there really appreciate it.
It was very, very well done, Bernie.
Yeah, and of course Johnny's going to whack in a few bob himself, he said, and we'll keep him to that for sure. And pleasingly, and I know that the people at the Riding for the Disabled camp will be very happy when I tell you that we've had a donation come forward, and John will tell when he sees the people from Riding Disabled, he'll tell them direct who it came from. It's a wonderful gesture. They've donated $200, so all up in 2 weeks.
Now, we'll say on here who did it. Harper and Morph donated $200. I think it's a magnificent gesture by Harper and Morph to give the $200. And as we've said through the week, and we're going to keep it going, if anyone out there would like to give us a donation for this great cause of riding with disabled, if you see us at the footy, just come up, give us a donation, and we'll give you a shout out. Don't worry about that, but it's for a wonderful, wonderful cause.
Yeah, well, the fellow wanted to remain humble about it, but John said, no, you can't do that.
No, that's a $200. That's magnificent donation.
It is fantastic, and well done. We're going to go through, we'll do some Cheerios, John, and first off I will say good day to one fellow who gave us terrific support, and they got comprehensively beaten by the Golden Valley last year, and their coach of the Interleague side for Ballarat was a fellow called Shane Scontra, and he told us then, and he tells us now, that he's still a continual watcher of the show. So good day, Shane, and thanks for hanging in there with us, mate.
He's a wonderful bloke. Met him last year with Travis, and he's a really, really good bloke, and said he really enjoyed the show. So just give you a shout out, Shane.
Does he live in Ballarat?
Well, who knows?
I think he'd live over that way. Not the best looking bloke I've ever seen, but not a bad bloke nonetheless.
What, you got no mirrors in your house?
I can take my choppers out.
So,
all right, now
I've got Cheerio David too.
Yep.
Gregory McTaggart. Gregor McTaggart. I just want to give him a shout out. He's in the paper in the last few weeks. He's had a show called Memory Lane, or right up on Memory Lane, and he's done 2 stories, one on Chris Steeldryer and one on Mick Gafer. And Gregor, I want to congratulate you. It's one of the best reads that I've seen for a long, long time, and it's a wonderful effort, and congratulations on doing it, and I hope you keep it going, because there's a lot of people reading it.
You've got one there for us.
I've got two here this
Two?
week.
Yeah,
Foxy,
I've still got a
actually.
couple myself, actually.
Yeah, until JR took over your thunder there. But yeah, I've got two this week, boys. Trevor Pollard, as a lot of people know around the GV, absolutely lovely fella, Trevor. And every time I see him at the footy, I saw him at Seymour on the weekend, and every time I see him, he always comes up, shakes your hand, here you go, Morph, and just a real gentleman of the Golden Valley. So big shout out to you, Trev. I know you watch the show, and yeah, you're a really nice fella. And Morgan Russell Telford from Wodonga, some followers of our show. Morgan Russell, how you going?
Yeah, that's. I've got to say good day to Riley, Luke, and Courtney. They live in the Gambia. They're watching the show. How you going? And they're great friends of mine. They're good people. Don't worry about that. And we can do this one. Ooh,
Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, that's what they do when they
You're trying
see
to get
me.
those teeth out.
I've got to say good day to another mate of mine that watches this every week in Queensland. Former champion jockey. Pulled up more horses in his career.
Strong arms.
Made Harry White look like a sookie lala. And that is Owie the Blowy, as affectionately known, Owen Wall. And g'day, Owie, how are you, mate? No, I know he told me just yesterday that he watches the show every week. I can't tell you what he said to me, but
On air.
And yeah, that's exactly right.
I have one more, Foxy, before we go. I just want to congratulate the Seymour Footy Club. Went down there at the weekend. Their Anzac before the game, what they did there, you know, the sides lining up, the old diggers coming out on the ground. To Gary Brown and the crew at Seymour, congratulations on a wonderful job.
I'll back you up on that, Jar, too, because I had that on my notes here to say tonight as well. What Seymour did on a day that should be recognised on Anzac Day, they did extremely well. So, yeah, I agree. Gerard O'Sullivan, the people down there at Seymour, you know, your Royals always had that rivalry, but, you know, the guest speaker actually commented on there about, you know, arch rivals back in the day. 1 minute they'd competing, you know, against each other, then the next they'd be fighting at war together. And I think what they encapsulated there was nothing short of sensational. So well done, Seymour.
Seeing the old digger toss the coin.
Yeah, it was really good.
And
It was
I
really,
went over and
really
shook
well
his
done.
hand and thanked him.
Yeah.
For us people.
I was at Benalla and they brought the bagpipes out onto the ground, and I was standing right alongside Shorty Martinello, and it was just a sort of a moving moment.
Oh, it is.
Great game of footy. Johnny's a terrific bloke, and it was just, he said, as I do, he loves bagpipe music, and I do in Benalla. Congratulations. And I guess right across this region, we honour our soldiers better than most, and women too as well that went to war.
And so we should.
Well
Oh,
done.
yeah. And you'd probably have enough wind to blow about 5 bagpipes up.
Yeah. Now, I do want to cover just one quick topic, Johnny, and I know that you like to see new talent come into the competition. I'll just be quick. I saw two boys from two respective clubs. Jack Dorge, a boy from Benalla. I'll tell you, just remember his name. This kid is a super player. He's very cool, got a real presence on the ground. He's tough. He's courageous, and he's got all the skills and all the ability. And he's well coached by Luke, but his main coach is Wally Armstrong, of course. And then another kid that made, I think he's played a couple of games. He's got the trendy hairdo, but he can really play the game. Kane Proctor from the Swans. Like the way you go about it, mate. You've got, I think he's a boy from Rumballara, and he's fallen into, I think his girlfriend plays netball at the Swannies, and Kane has just fallen into the senior side, which is a handy side, and does particularly well. So they're two names that can remember. Guy, I want to run a question past you, and John, I want you to answer it with the Perriers having input on it. I went and watched the footy on Saturday, and I'm telling you right now, I might be old school and blokes might have theories on it, but sometimes I can't understand why they take players often on the ground that are playing well, Guy. Now, I know you've operated the bench at Euroa for a couple of years. It's got me beat when you've got a boy playing really, really well, why he has to, unless he's spent, and I'm seeing blokes that are in good nick coming off the ground, leave him out there or rest him down deep. I can't understand it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a catch-22, Foxy. I think what not a mistake, but what I think, you know, clubs tend to do nowadays is we're always trying to follow AFL and what the standard they're setting.
Bull.
The one thing we have to realise is if we were at AFL standard, we wouldn't be playing GVFL. So let's get that sorted straight away. However, the game has changed. The game has changed since back in the 80s, so we're not having that long kick, contested, centre-half forward punch, all that sort of stuff. It is a real high-intensity game now. It means that, you know, you are going to need probably, you know, the Rovers are going to need more spells during a quarter, but I do agree. I think if you've got a good player and he's playing well and he needs a rest, send him to the forward line.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be coming and sitting on the bench. I'm always a believer of keep your best players around the football.
Well, the good player, I've never seen a good player kick a goal on the bench.
No, either.
And what I see, and now I've been to a few games in the last couple of years I think there was one game I went to, was Tachura versus, I forget who it was. We're 8 minutes into the first quarter and there was 6 rotations. Now, if a bloke can't run into a game in the first 8 minutes, you seriously think they've got a problem. Look, there's no doubt midfielders need a rotation, but let them put their hand up if they want to come off. But I watch Marupna like McDonald, they push him forward, he kicks 4 or 5 goals. You know, he's got a few goals to his credit now. But what it does, it creates, I think you hit it on the head before, Morph, we're in the GVL, we're not in the AFL. We're not running it as hard as what they are, but look, I haven't seen you blokes at the weekend when you used, how do you pronounce his name? Akupu. Well, you pushed him forward, but then the opposition have to change their structure.
Yep.
So, look, no, I just think that could be cut well.
I just find it hard too, boys, for a player. You can't expect a player to go and spend 3 minutes in a position and get settled and do well.
Oh, you can't.
You know,
It
it's just too much to ask.
And there's other business about when a bloke kicks a goal, he sprints to the interchange box. I know what I'd be saying if I was a player.
But
I'd be waving, saying, how you going?
I think a lot of times, you know, it takes you a while to get yourself into the game. So while you're in the game, you want to be in the game, especially if you're playing well. And if they take you off, they're taking you out of the game. Then you've got to come back on and get into it again, Foxy. So it's very hard.
Anyway, it was something I wanted to cross with both of you. But now, I've got to cross this now, Johnny. It's time for Morph's mailbag.
What an intro. New segment we're trying this year, JR. I hope I can live up to it now. But yeah, look, I mean, all the people who are going to be writing in, we encourage you to do it. And we've got a couple of letters this week, so I'll get straight into them. Morph, how do we get more support for under-18s at club level? I completely understand that all clubs are working to get their number one side to be the best that they can be. I was just as thrilled with the results at Euroa this past weekend as every other supporter there. However, I couldn't help but feel sad for the under-18s after the victory of the seniors. The under-18s victory, which kicked off and inspired everyone at the Oval that day, has barely had a mention. I've seen this happen at other clubs and as well, and it saddens me. As is repeatedly said, they are our future. Let's get clubs to recognise them more. Let's get some stats out for them. Let's do what we do for the seniors, the reserves, and equally and especially for the under-18s. And that is from a proud mother of an under-18 magpie. My initial, I'll pass over to you boys in a minute, my initial response to that is back probably, I'm not that old now, but probably 10 years ago I know at Euroa we used to have a bit of a buddy system going where the senior, one senior player would actually take an under-18 player under their wing and actually mentor them in a way. I thought that was a really good system. What it did was actually, it got the senior players there a bit earlier for starters watching the game, and it also gave the under-18s that bit of interaction with senior players, and it was good for the senior boys too, for learning how to talk to these boys and pass on maybe a few skills as well. The other thing I would say to that is too, all clubs I'm sure are definitely trying their best, at every level. It is a big task on Saturdays, but what I would say to supporters is, if you can try and get down there a little bit earlier, watch a quarter of the under-18s, because I know that they would, it gets them a bit up and about when they've got that, a little bit of following, and that would be the only advice I can give.
Everything you said.
Yeah, well, I don't reckon I can add into that, because I reckon I would have said the same thing. I think you're talking about having a buddy. They have it at schools and all that sort of stuff, and I think that's a wonderful idea. And, at senior level, you might have 40 or 50, they could have 2 buddies each, and as you said, it brings them to the game. But I also think there's also got to be a little bit more support from mum and dad. It's not an orphanage, just don't take your kids there, drop them off, and then go do the shop and stay there and show an interest in them. But no, it was a good point you brought up, Gob.
It is a good point and a good letter.
Good letter.
So thank you for sending them that letter. Second letter tonight, boys. Morph, with the under-18s not having an interleague game, I think it would be a fantastic opportunity to put our 18s head-to-head. The concept would involve splitting the GV into 2 and let the region see what the GV has to offer at junior level. Love the show, gents. Keep up the good work. And that's from Wally from Benalla.
Yeah, look, I think that's not a bad point, actually. Like, say, north versus south or whatever it may be, or that's this side of the river against the other side of the river. Because I think we're the kids, and I think when the Interleague coach Travis, when he spoke before, it's a highlight for these kids. And now, if you had a game like this, there's no doubt there'd be recruiting officers there watching these kids and having a look at them.
For sure.
And interleague games, recruiters come down and watch all these kids, because that's the future of AFL footy. And Wally, look, I don't think that's not a bad idea. I think it'd be a very, very good idea. I'm very disappointed at Geelong not bringing their thirds and that down. I think someone should have done something about that. I don't think it's right. But Wally, I think that's not a bad suggestion.
What was the reason behind it? They just couldn't get numbers, or what? Do we know the reason why?
Well, I think we'll have to try and find out. But you'd have numbers. You've got to have numbers. But it's, to me, that's something, I don't know, the VCFL, or I don't know who looks into these things, but it's something that should be looked into, because I don't think it's right. But yeah, no, it's a good point.
It is, and look, a good letter from Wally, and I think it is disappointing that we can't have that this year. But
gee, what a cracking game it'd be!
It'd be a sensational game.
Oh, Foxy coach on one side and me the other.
Oh, wouldn't there be a few blokes around here in trouble?
But thank you for the first two letters, and if you want to get involved, please send us in anything that you want to have a rant about, or you want to say about, you want to plug, whatever it is. Send it in to morphsmailbag@gmail.com, and we'll do our very best to get it out to the viewers.
And don't forget, that's all in for the computer people. That's all in lowercase. It's Morph's mailbag. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen at gmail.com. Righto, fellas. We're going to get into a few of these games, and straight away, first up, JR, Mansfield and Tatura.
Well, Foxy, one of them's going to be a winner at the end of the day, Morph, and that's exactly what. If you look at the Mansfield side, they've kicked 125 points this year so far, and the Bulldogs have kicked 229, so the Bulldogs are just a little bit in front in that area. They've had 306 kicked against them, Mansfield, and the Bulldogs have had 337. So across the board, they're pretty even. Joey Cousins, he's been really, really good from so far this year, along with Mark Jones, Bashesky. We know how well he does. Blackburn, Tim Blackburn and Ayers have been really, really good from Foxy also. The Hines boys, Brown, Gallagher and Gerish, have been good players for him. On the Bulldogs side of it, Billy Lovell's had a really, really good year at centre half forward. Paul Kirby, he's sitting up at full forward now. It's an interesting move, and there's no doubt the Mansfield boys will have something for him. He's kicked 12 goals from him. Daniel Flynn and the Ruck has been really good for the Bulldogs, Foxy. Benny Tartulo kicked 5 last week. He hadn't done much up until then, sitting in the forward pocket. Young Sean Martin. Probably the key to it, Ryan McGough and James Wall. Do they play? If they don't play, the Bulldogs are in a fair bit of trouble. Lee Wynette, Jamison Daniels, we know he's got a bit of a crook knee, but he played last week, so full credit to him for that. But I think the key will be whether Ryan McGough and James Wall, I think they got in Richmond's best last week, Foxy, so maybe they don't come back. So if they don't come back, I think at home Mansfield boys might get over the line.
Who do you think, Guy?
Yeah, I think Mansfield probably at home will be a little bit too strong. Full credit to Jamison Daniels for carrying an injury.
Yeah.
We know he had it, but going into a club, and that shows character as a playing coach to do that. Yeah, relying on McGough and Wall is a little bit hard. Burberry boys, what's happening there? Is he back at Mansfield yet, or is he injured, or what's?
I think he's soft tissue injury.
Yeah, you got him and you got Sheen and those sort of blokes out. So if they can get some of those blokes, and you reckon they must be close to coming back to playing now. They get them back, well, that really strengthens them up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for him over there, but I think the Doggies might get him just. There you go. Okay, next game is Marupna take on Kyabram, and what a thriller this is going to be. Marupna probably had the game almost won last week. Kyabram almost had the game won last week.
Had more shots.
Couldn't get over the line. And Marupna, well, they're in very good form. JR, you can talk about this one.
Yeah, look, if you look at Marupna, you see last week in the third quarter, they kicked 5 goals, 7, so they're up and about. And we will talk about Marupna this week. And Kane Boyer, gee, what a year this bloke's having. He's been in the best 3 or 4 times already, Kane Boyer, off that half-back flank, and he's flying off the half-back and a very, very good player. And the way he's playing, you nearly think in the league they nearly have to have a look at him. Spiro Vargalis, your man Foxy, is also going pretty well. I think he's been in the best from 3 times. But Ryan Thompson is a new bloke, comes off the half-back flank, goes through the midfield. Big rap on this bloke. Pat Compton. He's a bloke I do like. I seen him a few weeks ago. He's running and that. He can play half forward, wing, midfield. He can play anywhere. Shane McDonald, he's kicked 8 goals already, and this is one of the blokes we talk about going through the midfield and pushing forward. When he goes forward, he's that strong, and he's a really good player.
Kick a footy.
Oh yeah, he's a good player. Keeps his feet, which I like about him. Conker last week got 4. I reckon this bloke's really important for him, Foxy, because he's a goal kicking forward. He can push forward also. The kid I do like is this young Dean Smith. This is a kid that's getting flying right under the radar, Dean Smith. He is a very, very good kid.
That's a lovely built fellow on the wing, number 2, I think.
Yeah, goes through the midfield. Yeah. Trent Fear's been been good. Lockie Devine down back. Daniel Lewis, I think they freed him up with Aho there. Like, he's got his 9 goals. He's been good from. There's a kid last week, he talked about playing his first game, Foxy Alex Tattersall. I think he played his first game last week and was very good.
Good on you, Alex.
Kai last week, as we said, went down. Jordan Williams is having a really, really good do. Jason Morgan back to top form. Jason Morgan, the coach, Justin Sherman, he's five goals already. Play wing midfield. I like him across the half point. Lukey Morris, I reckon, is a star. Colstock in the middle is a good player, along with Chrissy Aaron. Liam Ogden. He seems to be down a little bit this year, but I've asked a few, and they don't seem to think he's getting enough time through the midfield. And might be Hurst him. Big Durston's kicked 9. Sammy Sheldon's been good. Joshy Vick obviously will go to Oha. And Ryan Emmett, who's kicked 5 goals, is dangerous in the pocket. I think it's going to be a great game, but I'm going to go from Root and the boys.
He won't go to Oha, he might go to Aho.
What do I say? Aho. There you go.
Doesn't matter. He's been a bit of a plus for him, the big fella in the square. Gives him a real target, Aho.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And of course, one fella you didn't mention there, and I reckon he's a super player, is Daniel Lewis.
I did mention Daniel Lewis. You weren't listening.
I'm sorry. I thought, well...
I said they've freed him up a little bit.
Okay, I take it all back, John. Far for me to have a go at the Holy One. Shame on you, David. Now go and stand in the corner. Okay, this is going to be an absolute ripper. It's at Marupna. John, who's going to win it?
I'm going to go Marupna. I think they're going along nicely at the moment, Marupna.
Yeah, I agree, Jay. I think Marupna at home. This will be a sensational game for the viewers out there. If you've got time, get down and watch this, because there'll be some good footy played here. But yeah, I'm a big rap for Marupna this year, boys. I think what they've added to their stocks with McDonald and a few blokes like this, and like you said, getting this young Aho who we didn't know much about, freeing up Lewis. I'm a big rap for Marupna this year, and I think they'll do it this week at home.
It's going to be a great game of footy. I think it's going to go right to the wire. Marupna is one of my favourite grounds in the competition, but I think they've got a little bit too much class up forward. Tommy Sheldon is not having the year that we know Tommy can have.
Down a bit at the moment.
And he is. But if he comes good and he rebounds off that, that thumping left foot that he's got, he's a great player. I'd like to be 1/10 as good as him, but he's not at his best at this stage. But like you said, the other fella, Morgan, holding his own. I think it's going to go right to the wire, but I'm going to go the Cats at home. Which, now, we move right along. You're going up to the Murray this weekend. Guy, you've got Echuca and Euroa. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, Echuca and Euroa, boys. Probably, arguably one of the toughest road trips in football, I reckon, heading up to the Murray Bombers. Euroa this week, look, last week, we've spoken about this fella on the ruck, big Johnny Akupu, nearly another best on ground performance last week.
Yep.
So he's been sensational for Euroa and really starts them out of the centre where every team needs to get started. Gilliland, the coach, last week kicked 5 goals and was tagged heavily, boys. So he's just been sensational.
Out for a few weeks, Guy?
I believe so. I think
Could be out for a few weeks with an injury.
He's got a little injury to his thumb, but hopefully at the moment, we're hoping about 2 to 3 weeks at the moment. But he'll be a big loss to Euroa, but there's definitely they've got some good depth to stand up as well. Brad Cunningham was sensational last week down at Seymour. Nick Snowden going through the midfield, and the captain Andrew Bell really stood up. I wanted to speak about the back line at Euroa lately in Tarrant. Ben Barker, who did a sensational job on Sard, very good player, and again probably surprised the league a little bit. Paddy Horsburgh and a young bloke Max Gleeson, a really good solid back six at Euroa at the moment, and I think every club would agree that to have a good side, you really need to build around that back six, and they've really consolidated down there. And look over to Echuca, boys. Simon Buckley, we know about him and his form. Magna Bosco, I don't know much about him.
All right. He goes all right.
Yeah, I've heard a bit about him, but I haven't heard much. Midfield type or forward, Johnny?
Yeah, can play either end.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously Pollock has been good for them lately. Tallman and a bloke like Jackson. But I just think this week, there's going to be too many good players for Echuca to match up on in Euroa. I think there might be a few injuries. We'll obviously wait till Thursday night till we hear about those. But I think it's going to be Echuca to match up on Euroa this week. They're going to have too many players to match up on. And what they're going to have to do is be winning that contested ball, because Euroa lately have really prided themselves on winning that contested footy.
Yeah, look, I went down and watched Euroa last week against them. What impressed me was they kicked 6 goals, won in the last quarter, Euroa, and I thought it was really, really good performance. There's a bloke by the name of Tom Sharp there. He caught me eye a bit for you blokes on the half-forward flank. I thought he was really good. But, full credit to Chuga. Let's not forget that they were 41 points down at three-quarter time, Foxy, against the Bulldogs, and got up and won. So that's a great performance. So,
absolutely.
Your mate Jack Sheldon, he's there. There's a bloke by the name of Lockie Collins. He's kicked 6 goals, and Buckley's kicked 7, and Liam Wilkerson. So they've got a bit of talent there. They'll take it up their row for a while, but Euroa will get over them.
I think Simon Buckley's having an absolute stellar year, but I'm pretty confident they get a boy back this weekend called Reed, who can really play the game, and he'll add a bit to him. Going to be Euroa will not want to go up to Echuca and take him for granted, but I think the Pies are way too strong in the end.
Yep.
Okay then, next game, Johnny, is going to be all about Rochi and Shepparton.
Yeah, look, Rochi, I think they've surprised a few at the moment. They're going along nicely. The Rochester boys have got over Kai, of course, last week by 5 points. The bloke that's having a great year is Sammy Brennan. He's a great man, Sammy Brennan. I've always loved Sammy Brennan as a player and as a bloke. I've spoken about him before. Terrific player, but just having a great year. He's back to his youth, Sammy. I don't know what he's on, but I've got to try and get some of it, Foxy. Heath Aiken's been good. Nick O'Connor's been really good from so Nathan Maroon. They said he was outstanding again last week. He's been really good down back. Daniel Anderson through the midfield. He's had a few little niggle injuries, but he's coming good. Stephen Strubin, he's kicked 9 goals from Foxy. They said he's been off a little bit, but I reckon last week he was really, really good. Elliot Bowen is back to his old form at full forward with 12 goals. Dylan Williams, Nick Knight, Saunders. They've got some talent here. And already this year, Foxy, they've had 15 goal kickers for the year, 15 different goal kickers. So that probably last quarter, last week, the only disappointment they would have had, they only kicked 2 points in the second quarter, so the coach has got a little bit of work there. Shepparton, they kicked 3 points in the first quarter and only kicked 1 goal, 2 in the third quarter, Foxy, which would be a little bit disappointing. But Rowan Hitchcock, Sangster, Welch, Holland, Ash Holland, as we know. Reece O'Sullivan, was good to see him find a bit of form last week from Nicky Allen. We know what a good player he is. Kane Thompson, Daniel Willis has kicked 11, and Sam Bowmaker. But look, Rochester at home, Shepparton, they're going better than what the scoreboard indicates, I reckon. I reckon they're going along quite nicely. The Shep boys, they're only a few blokes off the mark. They've had a few injuries, but I just think at home, Rochi will get over them.
Yeah, Rochi are a very, very good side. There's no doubt about that. And names that you just get the feeling that when they play to their optimum, they're going to tear a side to pieces. I don't think it'll be this week, and I don't, because Brad Campbell will have his boys up and ready, and he knows what Rochester are all about. I think Rochi will win. I think they'll win it quite well, but the Shepparton boys will have a bit of a dip.
Just one bloke there too, JR, that we missed in there too, Ash Watson. Is a really quality player.
Well, he's just class.
He is. Yeah. And just, looking through Rochi's list and backing up, I don't think it'll be a walkover, but you got blokes like, when you got blokes like Elliot Bowen and similar to Luby at United, who can actually play either end of the ground, that's when you've got a pretty good, as a coach, it'd be pretty exciting to have that.
Yeah, I think the coach has got them playing a very good brand of football, and they just seem to be. Well, they seem to be playing for one another, and they seem to have a pretty good system. So everything's working for them beautifully at the moment.
Well, on Saturday, live from Deakin, and this game will be broadcast live on 98.5 1FM. The broadcast will start at 1 o'clock. It is United taking on Seymour. To my way of thinking, John, one of these sides is going to stay a contender for the finals, and one of them is going to go on my put on hold file. But with his thoughts on this game, Guy Morph,
put on hold file.
Yeah, I really do think this is a danger game. Whoever loses this slips back that little bit you don't want to.
Yeah.
It'll be a good game, boys. Yeah. So at Deakin on the weekend, United going through their list. Well, obviously Tim Luby, he's the coach of the club and an absolute out and out superstar. Neves, DeBella, blokes like Butler, Davies, Big Piggy Campbell over there, come across from the Swans and been kicking
6
a few
goals,
over there.
6.
Yeah, so he's looks like he's settled in pretty well. Blokes like Sean Hoy, another super midfielder. Matty Rendina. So it'll be interesting to see, boys, who they give the job to Rendina this week. Would you think Bongetti or Sard or somebody of those likes down there, JR, or who to go to those blokes?
Yeah, look, I reckon that the first one will be interesting is Bongetti, who goes to him. Ryan Butler is probably a bloke that can go to him. Now, I know he'll give inches away, but Ryan Butler is
I'd give Butler a crack at either of them.
Oh, yeah, he's a very, very good defender. The bloke that's been good for Seymour is Hugh Robinson.
Yeah.
He has been good. Meriden, if they play Meriden on a wing on Deakin Reserve, he's the bloke they're going to have to shut down United, because he is a superstar, this bloke.
Yeah.
He is good. I find him better on the outside player than inside. Not as though he doesn't like the hard contest, but out in the wing, like he even proved on Saturday how good he was. Seymour's biggest problem, Morph, is their kicking and handball. I've never seen a side like last week. Foxy won the ball and then gave it straight back to Euroa. If you had a look at Euroa's goals and how many goals they kicked, I reckon 3/4 of them came from when Seymour had the ball and gave it back to Euroa, and Euroa made them pay. Now, if you turn the ball over on Deakin Reserve, you're just going to get hurt big time. And I think until Seymour get that out of their game, especially going into their forward line, they're going to be in trouble, because Sard and Bongetti won't get the ball the way they're getting it in there.
How much did they miss Scanlon last week in terms of delivery through the centre column?
Oh, massively. And I was about to say that, Foxy, too. You know, you've got blokes like Bongetti and Sard, and that what worries me is does Luby play himself forward, or does he go back on a Bongetti? I mean, obviously we'll see how that transpires. But you're right, Foxy. I mean, Seymour missed that Scanlon and that drive out of their midfield. You can have as good a forwards as you like, but unless you've got the midfielder actually delivering the ball in, it can actually become a little bit irrelevant. I mean, I know on the weekend when Meredith got going, Uriah put a tag on him. So, you know, they really are relying around blokes like Meredith and Cole, you know, the Colbert brothers playing. I think Brent, the coach, hurt his shoulder on the weekend a little bit, but they are screaming out to get Scanlon back in that side.
I'll tell you, two blokes at United that get going under the radar a bit. This Paul Curry at centre half forward, he's been really, really good for him. There's a bloke by the name of Reece Healy through the midfield, Foxy, has been really, really good for United. Look, it's going to be a terrific game.
A couple of the Scables there for Seymour will do all right too. Wheeler, we didn't mention Wheeler. They're all class.
Adrian McCarty, he'll get a tagging role. But
I just want to say on that, boys, too, talking about forwards, and I was looking back through, you know, the games this year and over the last couple of years. The goal kicking and conversion rates, it actually worries me a little bit in Golden Valley level now. Like we looked at, I think it was Marubna the other week, 8 goals, 22. Take nothing away from Marubna. I'm not picking a side out.
You won't be able to go there again.
It's just one that came to mind. But
Is it a nice goal?
There is increasing levels of sides kicking, you know, 20, 22, 25 points. What I want to know is, you know, we spoke about this before about, you know, following AFL and emulating what they do and doing all these things like the press and high intensity football, handball reseason, all these things. How many coaches, JR and Foxy, are actually teaching our forwards or actually having goal kicking practice?
Probably hardly any.
And I
reckon they're frightened of doing their hamstring.
I could answer that because I've seen a lot of clubs and been to a lot of training, but you know, a lot of clubs should be taking their key forwards and at least having 50 to 100 shots at goal per week. Because let's face it, the most important part of a game of football is getting the goal on the big sticks.
And I think a lot of your kicks need to be under pressure as well. Because I think sometimes they just practice this, that, and all those dribbles around the corner. Don't worry about them. Get the one dead in front.
In a word, who's going to win it?
In a word, I think United at home.
I'm going to go for United. I think if Seymour can get their kicking and their handball right, they'll take it right up to them. But at the moment, the way they're kicking their handball, I think it'll bring them undone again, especially on Deakin.
For me, I think the game evolves around the big fella in the centre, Neves. If Neves doesn't play, and there's a little bit of a story that he may not be available this week, if Neves does not play, I would have tipped Seymour. But if Neves plays, first use of the ball, Sean Hoy's having a great year.
One bloke I did mean to mention, Cole played his first game last week and I thought he was impressive.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yep. Okie dokie, well that's it for this week. We've got to, obviously you can see we've got to balance out a little bit better with Morph's mailbag. We've got to, we'll give the trumpet to Tijuana. We're too happy with the trumpet.
McTeague's staying in me.
Yeah. But thanks to everybody for watching. Looking forward to this week's footy, and we're only a couple of weeks away from Interleague, but plenty more football headed your way. To Guy Morford, thanks very much. Guy, to Johnny, we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.